You're on mute, Hendrik.
Thank you, Mike. I only said hello, everybody, and I will share the link to the agenda in the chat. Thanks for that reminder, Diane. Okay, let's wait another minute. I just pinged all the channels that the TSC starts, and in a minute I will start with the introduction. Okay, welcome everybody to the Hiero TSC call. Like any other call we are doing in the Hiero project, this is a public call. That means everybody is invited to join us in this call or any other call we do in the Hiero project, in the Hiero community. We have a public calendar. You can see we have multiple calls. Each week you can find all of them in the calendar that you can subscribe to by iCal or by registering with your Linux account, Linux Foundation account. If you miss a meeting, you can easily go back in the past to any meeting like the TSC meeting from last week, and you will find a recording and AI-generated agenda of that meeting. And you find the link to our public calendar on our website and in the agendas in our GitHub and so on. And since those meetings are public and we're happy to have you all here and discuss with us and bring in any topics, any questions, any discussion items, all that must happen under some lightweight rules. And we use the code of conduct of the Linux Foundation and the antitrust policy of the Linux Foundation here in our meetings as rules to, work and interact with each other. So with that, feel free to unmute yourself, ask a question, join a discussion, but please always do it in a friendly manner. Okay, so let's go over the agenda of this week. So let's start with a short recap of the TSC meeting of last week. Since multiple people who are like often in the TSC call or even part of the TSC have been in Denver last week on either the East Denver Conference or the Hedera Dev Day. The TSC call last week was a little bit different. We don't have much on the agenda, but we had a very good discussion that Keith brought into the TSC meeting last week, which was about documentation, about the documentation that happens within Hiero, how different projects in Hiero, like the Python SDK, like Solo, or like the other SDKs, do the documentation, how it is published, how it can be found. And one of the discussion was if we can work on that topic to bring all those different documentations more together, to have maybe like shared documentations, connected documentations, and so on. And so at the end, Keith, the action item that came out of the TSC meeting last week was that Keith will speak with the projects that currently do documentation, try to understand their needs, and come back with an overview about the current state and what could be possible in future. Is that correct, Keith? Have I missed something important, or was something wrong about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, that one's not correct. We did talk about docs last week, and I do have an action item to put together a proposal. But actually, the project request that I wanted to present today, if it's not, it was written by Pranali, is a little bit separate from that. That's a much more directed a docs request, and I don't know if you want me to go through this now, this project
Oh, no, we
request.
can go to that to that later. That's
Okay, great.
when we come to that on the agenda. Yeah. Okay. Alex has hands up.
Yes, you are touching upon exactly what I was going to ask, which is whether the solo docs repo request was associated with the docs architecture alignment. Because one would think that the solo docs, if we establish certain guidelines or certain practices, would need to follow, or not would need to, but it would be desired that they follow that. At that point. So I know you can create the shelf, the docs, and everything else, but I don't know if we wanted to finalize or at least get some preliminary guidance around the documentation strategy before we open up for like doc specific repositories.
Right. So
Keith?
do we want to talk about that now, Hendrik? Do we want to talk about that later?
We kind of in the middle of that with the review of gas. Maybe we do a short break on that, do this, any updates, events, and then we will discuss about that before we come to hips or anything. Is that fine for you? But I don't want to, in worst, discuss at the whole TSC meeting and have not asked the community members if there was anything they would like to bring in, any updates, informations, or events somebody would like to mention. So that is the question to you. Any topics you would like to bring in to make the TSC or the Hiero community aware of? Okay. Um, if not, we can come to the proposal. So Alex for sure has already had a look at that proposal to keep everybody here on the same, like knowledge level. Keith, can we, before we go into a discussion, have a short overview of that proposal? If I understood it correctly, by it's written by Pranali, what is that? Oh, that was, sorry, the wrong thing. You are the person who will present that. Is that correct, Keith, or have I misunderstood that?
Yeah, yes, I'll present it.
Okay.
It's a fairly simple proposal. Actually, Hendrik, I think it's easier just while you're sharing. Can you go to solo.hiero.org? This is a way to preface this. Right. So for anyone who's not aware, Solo is a product that we are bringing online to kind of replace local node for local testing for the Hiero and Hedera networks. Currently, we actually already have docs for Solo, and they are found at this URL, solo.hiero.org, and maybe you can go check it out. And if you actually go click on that middle documentation button, then here they are. Now, this is built on a Hugo Docsy, like a static website framework. That's how these docs are built out. And we have a fairly, I think these docs need improvements, But one of the issues we have is that these docs currently, where these docs sit, is in the solo repo itself. And that causes problems because basically, like every time you want to build the docs, when it comes to like trying to update them or trying to edit them or trying to review a PR, you actually kind of have to build the entire solo project and not just the docs. It makes it really because there's a lot of I saw a quizzical look on your face, Henry, because there's a lot of auto generated docs in this as well that we're probably going to
Okay.
remove.
Yeah.
But it just makes it like it's 45 minutes to build. It's really time consuming, and also I think the other part of this is that we are actually going to be having other products in the Solo family. So this particular doc we're looking at is for the product called Solo CLI. We are also coming out, which is quite important for block nodes, something called Solo Provisioner. There will also be Solo Uploader. And so there's going to be maybe three or four different Solo products. So we're actually looking at also like a more holistic doc strategy. Like it's not just about this one repo. It's not just about it's about a family of products and how do we serve the needs for that. So the proposal, quite simply, is that we would like to create a new repo, probably called the Solo Docs repo. That repo will exclusively hold the Hiero Doxy docs framework, and that's where we would build out the docs for all of the different Solo products. So, like over time, each of the Solo products will probably have their own repo, like Solo Provisioner, Solo CLI, Solo Uploader. They will each have their own repo, but then Docs will have its independent repo. Now, this is a pretty standard format for a lot of Linux projects, is that docs are a standalone. But now I want to come back to Alex's question because I realize that I am also talking out of both sides of my mouth. You are correct, Alex. This is not part of a larger doc strategy. This is just a kind of a short-term fix to solve a short-term problem because we do need to get Solo out to market to facilitate the block node transition. Um, while this Hugo Doxy framework is fine, I mean, it looks fine. It is a frame. It's probably one of the most common frameworks used by Linux projects. In my estimation, it lacks certain features. It lacks, maybe some of the modern AI features. It lacks some of maybe some of the other visual features that viewers want. So, but I would say that the alternative proposal, I mean, so when we look at an overall DAC strategy, I think one thing I did clarify is that individual projects can make their own decisions about docs. And I would say for now, the Solo project wants to move forward with this Solo Doxy thing. And probably like a broader documentation strategy, which sorry, I'm just not prepared to present today, would be maybe a framework that we would provide to all Hiro projects, but we wouldn't force them to use, but it would be a framework that they're available to use. And hopefully it's so compelling that they want to use it. Now, maybe that's also using Hierodoxy, or maybe that's using a different framework. Like I was talking with Mike Cave about Mintlify is the one that I raised, which is more of a commercial platform. I just haven't had time to fully flesh out that proposal, and that this project proposal is something very specific for a specific need that we have right now. And maybe over time, also Solo migrates to something new, and we don't need this repo anymore. That's possible, but that's kind of where we are today. Yeah, Henry.
Um, I I have a question. So at the beginning you said that the solo dog or oh no, when the solo dog is built, the whole solo project need to be built because the solo dog depends on generated code, whatever. Um, this sounds to me like doing a split would make the situation worse based on that because um, so I'm not against having a solo doc repo. I'm just do not understand if today the documentation is so much heavily bound to the sources and somehow need the build of the sources to get something in the doc. How will that become better when we split it? And especially when I look at the solo doc, what they have, which is nice, right? Is having here's a version. So I could jump to, I don't know, any version and see now the documentation for solo for especially that version. And that is easily be doable because it's all in one repo. And is there already an idea how that looks with a split of the repos and especially with more solo repos come in? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, so we're having a very active conversation. I think that we are going to probably get rid of some of the auto-generated docs to reduce. Probably what will remain is like the CLI will remain auto-generated. I think the current conversation is that we'll probably do like a GitHub action. So like when this, so another issue we have with the solo repo, with the docs being in the solo repo, is that when we want to make changes to docs, it actually requires us to like almost create a new build of solo or to tag a new build of solo. That's another major issue. Is like when we want to update the solo, let's say website, we have to actually do an entire new version of the product is the only way to update it.
Okay.
So that's another kind of major issue that we face. So I think there are challenges about how we're going to support auto-generated docs when we move it to a new repo, but I think the team has some ideas. Just to say that throughout Hedera, we have other, like the SDKs have auto-rated generated docs, the protobuffs have auto-rated generated docs, and yet docs can sit separate from that. So it's not it's a common issue, and you can do it through linking, you can do it or you can maybe we can do it through GitHub Actions. We need to figure out that. It's just to say, like currently, because the solo docs are actually in the solo repo, we just are. It's very very hard to edit them, to update them, to maintain them, and that's the biggest single issue we're facing. And I think the other issues are more secondary, and we'll work through them about how we support auto-generated docs or support versioning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the proposal? Oh, I see there's a lot of things happening in the chat.
Yeah, Hendrik, my question in the chat was very similar to yours about
Yeah.
alignment between the separate repos, in particular if you've got multiple repos with Solo, and then you want to have like a capstone documentation around coordination around the different Solo products as part of a kind of a larger tasking. But I think the general concept there is ensuring that we don't have a misalignment in the builds versus in features versus the documentation if they're separated.
I just want to make one other call out is that Solo, if you look at the Hiero product family, is a bit of an outlier in that, like, yes, we have consensus node, we have mirror node, we have JSON RPC relay, and certain developers, like, particularly like developers who are looking to set their own Hiero network, they would need access to those docs. But Solo is different because Solo is a tool needed for all local testing. So therefore, it's like we need a lot more people will hopefully be using Solo, let's say, maybe thousands or tens of thousands. Therefore, it has different docs requirements than, let's say, the consensus node repo or the mirror node repo, because this is more of an end user product. It's not a component of the Hedera architect or the Hiero architecture.
There's another question in the chat coming from Diane. So Diane asked Keith about the Solo project you've mentioned, like Solo CLI and so on. Why today we only have, or what is only, today we have this Solo repository, right? So the question is, will that be splitted into multiple technical repositories, or will new repositories created with new functionalities?
So we
And
will.
just to clarify, you mentioned a number of products, and I'm just wondering, I know this is Solo currently is Solo CLI. So where are the other projects, and are they being proposed to be brought in?
Yes.
That's
So the other projects currently sit, I believe, in the Hashgraph repo as private repos. So there will be project requests to create those projects, and then we will bring the code over from Hashgraph into Hiero.
Okay, and they will all sit under like solo CLI, solo/ the other things you were talking about as products?
I would assume so. Yeah, like Solo, probably Solo dash CLI. We actually do have to update the probably we've talked about maybe updating the name of the Solo repo itself, because right now it's just Solo, but there's gonna be like a family of like 4 or 5 products. Now Solo CLI is the main product. Again, when we talk about mass user adoption, it is the Solo CLI product.
Mhm.
The other products in the Solo family, like Solo Provisioner, Solo Uploader, these are more like niche products for, let's say, for DevRel people that are setting up Pyro networks. So it'll be much like less common for people to use those products. But yes, they would probably follow. I mean that would be part of a project proposal, but they would probably follow a naming scheme like Solo Dash Provisioner or Solo Dash Uploader or something like that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Could we expect a proposal for those 2 new projects? Provisioner,
Great question.
uploader.
Yeah, great question. I'm not sure. I can come back to you on that one, Diane. I'm not too sure when we would feel they're ready to come over. I think they're just waiting for them to become a little bit more mature, and then they could come over.
Okay, cool. Good. So Keith, thank you for giving that presentation on that project proposal. Um, so let's have a look. Who's currently here? We have Alex. So we could vote today since that one do not have much complexity where maybe we need to wait a week to think about any upcoming questions. And so would everybody in the TSC feel comfortable to vote on that one already today?
And maybe I should just clarify, Henrik. All we're asking for is a vote. I mean, yes, there's a complex doc strategy, but today we're just asking for the creation
It's
of a solo
of
docs
the repo.
repos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. That is how I understood it. Yeah. So we're not talking about future of documentations or whatever. We're talking about externalize the docs from Solo into a custom Solo docs repo that will contain multiple docs in future and maybe even change the technical documentation or technical framework that is used totally. Yeah, when we have something good in place for everybody. Cool. Oh, Richard.
Yeah, I had a concern. Is it appropriate to put the docs repo in Hiero before Solo itself is part of Hiero?
Well, good point. Good point. I mean, technically, I guess it could because you're making the documentation open source, but it seems kind of inconsistent where you point to something that is not part of the overarching project.
Well, so sorry, guys.
I
Solo
don't.
CLI is in Hiero.
It
Yeah.
is there. Yeah, that's
I did not know it was there already. Okay, never mind.
yeah. Cool. Phew. Phew.
Okay, good.
In that case, I know how to vote. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's good. You just confused me, but okay, that's perfect. Okay,
Sorry,
but this,
I got confused with PBJ. PBJ is what we haven't
yeah,
brought over
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
I got
PBJ
confused.
is not here. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
a different Panic at the Disco. Yeah. Okay, great. So nobody said no. So let's do a vote on that proposal to create a Hiero, no, a Solo
So
docs.
just real quick,
Oh,
sorry, I didn't have raise my hand.
no.
Is part of this, I'm just thinking being conditional just because you don't want to go down a path that we want to, change direction based off of a proposal that's going to be forthcoming from Keith here that could be inconsistent with this vote. So I don't
Just
know.
to, to put that to rest, Alex. I mean, these docs already exist as. I mean, we're changing the location of them, but actually,
Yep.
like these are existing docs available at solo dot hiero.org. So we're just changing the location of them. And I think the strategy, if we have a strategy, when we have a strategy, yeah, maybe we'll impact this, but we're just doing a kind of a horizontal transition right now of the docs.
Yeah, no, my point was just I guess that say the recommended strategy is to keep the docs and the code in the same repo versus splitting them out, right? Um, that's all. I mean, I always hate to put in place a permanent solution for a temporary problem, and then cluttering with multiple repos that then end up needing to get deprecated.
So,
So
I
that's
mean, it's hard to think ahead, but even in a future world, I think we would probably want an independent repo for the solo docs. And because really what the doc strategy is about is not whether or not docs have separate repos. I think that's up to individual projects. It's more, should we offer a consistent framework? Like, so today the solo docs use Hugo Doxy. Maybe in the future we say, well, we want all solo projects to use, I don't know, like another open source docs framework like MK Docs or Docosaurus or
right, right,
Mintlify.
right, right.
It's not about the location of the docs files. That's not part of the proposal. It's about, do we should have consistency on look and feel and platform that Hyro projects use.
Hendrik, you had your hand up
Yeah,
twice.
yeah. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get this hand down in the screen or up
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I share it. So, Alex, one point we already mentioned last week is, so when you look at the solo documentation, the great thing is, as I showed, that you can look at this, but at Hyro, we do not have a release train. So solo, let's say like release 51 is not related to a specific SDK release or to a specific consensus node release. And with that, if any product wants to have this releases of documentation without a release train, I think we will never end in having one source of documentation anyway, right? So
Right.
and with that, the more I think about it, I like this idea to give best practices to documentation. And in a best case, those best practices will link from one documentation to another, but it don't look like, oh, now I'm in a totally different world, because the look and feel is the same and everything, because they all use the same framework, even if what you look now is coming from a totally different repository. That is kind of the idea I have here. And with that, I assume it's fine to do this externalization. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Again, with some of that clarification, I'm uh I'm happy to proceed forward. Again, my thought just being make sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves with making decisions and then coming back to having to reverse them in short order. But given Keith your comments that they're somewhat orthogonal uh decisions, I'm happy to move forward.
Okay. Any other concerns or questions? Okay. If not, let's have a vote on that proposal to create the Solver Docs repo as the base for the documentation of the Solver product family that will evolve over time, independent on how the documentation is created or what framework is used. Let me start with, who do we have here? Stoyan,
Yeah, I vote yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Georgie,
Yes.
Milan.
Yes.
Oh, I think Brandon left. Okay. Alex,
Yes.
and I vote yes too, but with still more than enough, right? With Brandon, who has left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're good. Okay, perfect. With that, the proposal is approved. Okay. Um, Coming back to the agenda. We skipped the hips topic for today. I don't see Mark here in the meeting, so I assume there was no hip for today on the agenda. Nobody pinged me, so I think we're fine here. Another discussion is HCS integration into hip repository. I do not want to do that without Michael Cantor being here, so we can skip that one too. Which brings us to the next topic, which is discussion workflow-defined namespaces of releases, packages, and so on for publishing. Let me open this link. I actually do not know what is behind this link. Oh, yeah, it started as a GitHub discussion. So in general, the question is we now have multiple projects that provide releases where we want that other products depend on, especially our SDKs. We now have CLIs and so on. And we want that those projects are able to create releases and publish them in any repositories like NPM, Maven Central, whatever. The question, or what we do not have today, is a definition about any guidelines or rules for those publishing, which could include naming guidelines, which could include like a documentation forward giving a list with each repo or with each project and the artifact names that can be published by that project. And that has been discussed with the people who take care about all that and take care about the release process and so on. And the question came to bring that to the TSC with the question, what does the TSC wants as documentation, as specification, and so on. And if a new project comes or wants to create a new artifact that is published, does this need to come to the TSC for voting? So do we want to be informed that I don't know, the Rust SDK maybe now creates a new artifact which is called Mirror Node SDK or whatever? Or do we say as long as everything is based on a given guideline for naming and so on, we are fine with everything. So that is the discussion base here. Any ideas, opinions on wishes on that? Anything I missed, Jessica?
No, I think you summarized it very well. Thank you for that.
So if I do not see a hand, I can share my point of view here. So my personal point of view is having rules for naming totally makes sense, because we do not want, like some under Hiero minus ledger, under others under Hiero minus ledger or whatever, that we have some basic guidelines about the naming so that the naming is consistent over, in best case, even over the different languages. And I think it makes sense to have a list somewhere that every maintainer, maybe in governance, can add publishing information coming from the project so that we do not have any naming clashes. That is what I think would make sense. And I don't think that this need to come to the TSC or whatever all the time, as long as we have those lists and those guidelines. That is my personal point of view here. Alex.
Yeah, I would agree. We don't need to arbitrate every single naming that comes up. Although as we're approving projects, I mean that will generally come up anyway in some of the conversation. But as long as we have some consistent rules that we put in place, including not to have something that's offensive or whatever in the naming conventions, or that is likely to cause confusion, things like that. So I agree with your proposal of just establishing those rules and then dealing with exceptions when they arise.
Perfect. Thank you. Any concerns on that suggestion? Otherwise, Jessica and me would keep that with us and try to draft such a document with some rules and naming conventions and so on. And then we can bring it to the TSC in any future. I see thumbs up, no thumbs down. Okay, so Jessica, we have an action item.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you. That was easy. I like that. We already talked about solo dogs, which brings us to any other business. I think Jessica, you mentioned in the previous meeting you have something, right?
Um, I thought I put it in the agenda, but maybe it got overwritten.
Maybe
This is
for
regarding
next week?
sorry?
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe you put it to the one for.
no, no, I wonder why it got overwritten, but
Okay. Maybe
that's
maybe
fine.
I did it. Sorry
Yeah,
about that if I
no worries.
if I deleted it.
Maybe it wasn't that important. No, no, no. Yes, so can you help me opening the where was it? The mentorship
Yeah.
agenda for yeah,
From yesterday.
yeah,
Yes.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So one thing that we wanted to update the group was on the efforts that we're working on for applying for a mentorship program this year. So as you guys might or might not be aware, and if you're not aware, feel free to let me know if this is a presentation that the team will be interested on. If you go to the very bottom, there's some links in oh, wait.
Wait. Here we go.
That's one. So there's a link there, the LFX mentorship tool, which it is part of the LFX tools that we have in Linux Foundation. And this tool is used for running programs, gathering mentors and mentees into teaching them a particular topic and helping them graduate. So it's like it's not a certification per se, but it's still a program where mentors are helping us educate some of the mentees that are interested in Hiero. It could be a particular topic within Hiero, or it could be something surrounding the entire Hiero ecosystem. So we want to make sure that for this year, the Hiero project has more visibility on the mentorship program. And I added there 2026 mentorship guidelines if people are interested in looking into them. It talks about the deadline for application and how if you go, a little bit of how the timeline looks like for a particular mentorship for 2026, and a little bit of what are we expecting from mentees, what are we expecting from mentors, etc. So this is a little bit of information of how the mentorship program works. And if you would have noticed in the public calendar, we added a mentorship meeting that anybody is welcome to attend. It happened yesterday. And we invite everybody or anybody who is interested in talking about mentorship to attend this meeting. We've been discussing, a few of us, the topics that we want to apply for this year. And we came to the conclusion of 4 different topics that are presented there. And there's a 5th in the works by Hendrik, you're going to see there. We have a program, one program idea on working on SDK's version 3, for example. The second one is a little bit more that you guys might know that this is work that is happening already related to good first issue management and support. So this is something that the team is currently working on. And we have another program idea, which is related to the new HECA identity platform. So sorry that I haven't been able to reach out to the maintainers and I just kind of put them on the spot here, but I figured that I will reach out to the maintainers for the HECA identity platform and see if they're interested on running a mentorship program. And the fourth one is related to Web3J projects. So this is another one that is being discussed in the meetings for which we need to contact the Web3J community. So it would be nice to have a little bit of other collaborating teams to participate in this mentorship program. And there's a fifth topic that is being worked on by Hendrik regarding smart contract event and log support for Hiero Enterprise Java. So this is, you're going to see a little bit more information once Hendrik develops this idea. But the reason why I wanted to bring it into the TSC is because I wanted to hear comments on what do you guys think for the Hiero community and for the exposure that we're going to get by running this mentorship. I wanted to see what do you guys think about these ideas. I want to tell you that right now, the second one regarding the good first issue management and support is currently the leading idea for a program that we want to develop. So that's currently the one that is being voted internally a little bit higher than the rest on bringing it to a formal application. But also I'm very interested on the third one with the HECA identity program and definitely Hendrix. So I want to open the floor and hear from the attendees right now and see what you guys think. And yeah, let's start with Hendrik.
No, I don't know how to do hand sign by sharing my screen.
Okay. Anything that you want to add, Hendrik, to this, just in case?
No, one thing to add, which just came to my mind, Jessica, maybe you can ping David for that. So we had about, in general, the mentorship program, a very good session at the Maintainer Days in New York, and that was recorded, where another or people from other LFDT project shared their outcome of the mentorship program and how good it was and how it works and so on. So I hope that this video goes out within the next days. Jessica, maybe you can, give a little bit pressure, because that would be great to have it before the this phase ends, so that people who are still skeptical would have, with that video, a very good idea about why it's great to invest in that program.
Exactly. And yes, I nudged Sean from my team on this, and I'll remind him again today. So I'll make sure that those happen quickly, and I'll let you guys know about this. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. With that, I want to know from anybody if you have any questions, anything that you will think will be efficient for us to present as a program, or to help us raise awareness of the Hiero project as well. And this also goes tied with the exposure that the project is going to have with the open source community. So definitely, I want to know any opinions.
Is there anything, we just talked about solo documentation a lot. Is there anything around the solo documentation, Keith, that we could use a few extra hands on and create a mentorship around documentations? Or is it premature?
No, I would not say that's a prime project for contributions. We have a dedicated docs person working on it for now. Maybe in the future, but not right now.
And just to add to more information, we don't have to select one program. We can run several programs in parallel. The only key is to be able to have the maintainer and mentee mentor support for them. So going back to the program dates, that's
Yeah.
how it looks like the work that it will be needed for a particular program. Yes, Kit, go ahead.
So I guess my question more is, and this is a holistic problem for all of Solo. So let's say we have like amazing mentorships available. How are we going to let the world know that these opportunities exist? Because I think, one of the major challenges is we don't have a lot of communication channels to the
Yes.
outside. I mean,
And
if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, then it doesn't really matter, right? So, what do you have any thoughts about? I mean, it's one thing to create the mentorships, it's another thing about how you let people know mentorships exist.
Yeah,
that is what
so
AF does. Oh, Jessica,
yes.
go for it.
Yeah, that probably Hendrik and I we were thinking about the same thing. So
Yeah.
we can do this we can promote the mentorship via the how do you call it? The oh my goodness, I lost the name. The mailing list that goes every Friday from the LFDT with announcements. So that would be one way. The other way would be the socials. So LFDT's LinkedIn and Twitter accounts that will definitely be published on. We will make sure, I know that the Hiero.org blog has little traffic, but we will make sure that it's posted there as well. We will make announcements in the public meetings and public Discord channels. So those are the few ideas. How do you call that? The mailing list that goes out every Friday from LFDT. I
Yeah,
forget.
I don't know
It's
the
it's
name,
just
the IFTT
it's
newsletter,
yeah,
but
that's
Newsletter.
all.
Yes.
Yeah, there you
yeah,
go.
Yeah,
but
I forgot that word.
yeah, but I think independent of all that, and that is from my point of view way more important, right? The Linux Foundation has this platform and people coming to that platform because there are a lot of people that want to work on those projects. LF is taking care of the payment, so if a mentee becomes a mentee of one of the projects we create, and that project is approved for LFX mentorship, then LF will pay that mentee. So it's not that you have a project here and nobody cares about it. It's more like you have a project and you have 5 mentees and you need to decide what mentee should work on it. It's like Google Summer of Code. I think there was a lot of interest by students, by young developers to get part of those projects, to get mentorship from people like us, because that can really help their career. So if we, for example, and I give up to you, Diane, in a second. If we, for example, have an idea about a project for Solo, in theory, even Solo can just bring such a project idea in. We decided that it would be great if we can, like have one central document for everything within Hiero, decide together as a community what program suggestions we from Hiero want to bring in, because all program suggestions from any project within the LFDT will go to the LFDT tech, and the tech will decide on those projects what should go forward. And we don't want that one Hiero project is fighting against another regarding the program. That's why we said, oh, it would be great if, we as a Hiero community work together and say, hey, here are our 3 or 4 or 5 project proposals. We love them all. That's the idea here. Diane.
Yeah, so if you go back to the page you were on a minute ago, or a second ago, you notice that little green apply now. Once you have a membership up there, then the Hiero logo goes there for people to apply on. There is a lot of traffic on this page from around the world, of people. So besides what we would have to do ourselves to, and the LFDT was, this package itself is a place where people looking for mentorships to forward their career, to learn about a new technology. This is really well-trafficked page. So if we can get one or two, maybe hash. I'm going to say it wrong.
Hiero.
Hiero, thank you. It's early here. Hiero things and get our logo on here. People will really it'll drive traffic to Hiero. That's, the long and the short of it, as well as, and even if it's a very simple one, that's why I was saying docs and picking on Solo, sorry, Keith, but some project that just needs good docs or their docs cleaned up or release management added into their docs. I don't know, something simple. Uh, this is like a billboard to the entire Linux Foundation community, that we exist, and that we want to engage. So getting on this billboard is a really good thing. So if you can think of anything, and you can find a mentor, from your sub project or your main core project, this is a huge opportunity for us. And probably we weren't ready for it the first year or so when we were bringing Hyro itself in. But I think with all the sub projects we have, we ought to be able to get something on this billboard. And that's my very humble or not so humble opinion. This is a great opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
Dan. Yeah.
agree. And maybe to bring in one additional specific info when I look at the people here in the call. So we have one person here, which is Priyanshu, who already was a mentee of that program, and I think a mentee of Google Summer of Code 2, who now came to the Hiro project and helps us to learn all that because he did it as a mentee, and we really learned a lot from him about how all that is working, what are good projects, and so on. So yeah, that is really a thing, and people like it a lot. Does that answer your question, Keith, and give you a better idea about what is possible and what not?
Yeah, yeah. I guess my only comment would be it's I wonder, we go to the LFDT pool. I think there's suddenly probably a group of users there. Would there also be, are there groups of users who are specifically interested in Web3 that we could also appeal to, that are, really interested and passionate about blockchain specifically? I'm also, I'm just thinking like if you get mentees, I'm guessing part of the goal is you want them to stick around long term. I think part of that is that they have a passion for the technology we're building. How do we appeal to communities that have a passion for the technology we're building? I guess is a question in my mind.
My personal answer is I had no idea about blockchain when I started, but I had a passion of Java, and this was a great Java project, So I think there are different ways how you can come to it, and maybe it's just, oh, that is the programming language I would like to know more, and there's a project that is interesting using that language and is coming from the Web3 space. I think that is a good base too, but Priyanshu has hands up, so he knows everything better than I do on that topic. Yeah, Priyanshu, go.
Am I audible? So, answering to Keith, already there are a lot many programs working, and people are aware. Like Google Summer of Code is the biggest program in these mentorship spaces. These majorly focus new learners, new contributors to come to the organization, learn different perspective of the organization and technology, so they get a better idea and they get hand-on learning and kind of things. So I think that's the reason Google is sponsoring. And then Bitcoin, Summer of Bitcoin is there. So mentioning that, I have just done with Summer of Bitcoin also. Now I added two spaces. So I think there are lot many programs. MLH also gives you mentorship. So these are majorly focused. You learn different technology, go work around with them. And when a person works for like 3 to 6 months, like 350 hours to an organization, it's become like a part of him. He just try to contribute more and more because he has invested a time and he has got a good stipend also. So I think that's the thing, that the motivation around this.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Alex,
oh yeah,
Alex,
go ahead.
say something?
Mm.
Okay.
Maybe not. Well, if can can you go back to the list of topics?
Sure.
So this agenda, this is present in the agenda for yesterday's mentorship call. So if you guys have any questions, I have a question. I actually have a question. Can you put comments in these agendas? I wonder. Can you put
No, sadly not.
go
That would
down?
be great.
Yeah, I wonder. Oh, yeah, I thought there was a comment section. Well, you can put the. I can keep an eye on this. I'll be keeping an eye anyways for preparing the next meeting agenda. So if you or anybody else has comments on this, please feel free to post them here, and I'll make sure that we bring them up for discussion on the next. But yeah, definitely, we want to make sure we don't miss the deadline, which is it's right around the corner.
Perfect. Thank you.
And last but not least, I wanted to remind everybody to please attend the Maintainers Monthly tomorrow. The team is going to be discussing many important topics that we have. As you heard on previous meetings, we presented the 2026 goals, and many of these goals and initiatives are already taking place in the community. So more discussion on these goals and more actions on these goals are starting to take shape in the work that we are doing. So we definitely want the maintainers to be part of this. So please attend the Maintainers Monthly. I know it happens once a month, but we really need your participation here. And yeah, that's for me.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah. Thank you.
One last thing to add so that it's mentioned here. We updated the our roles and teams and groups definition with adding a new kind of role, which is between a contributor and a committer, which is a so-called junior committer that has very limited triage rights on repos, like assign people to issues and so on. That was an outcome of all the good first issue work we had, which showed that having such a role is very, very useful once people do more than just working on one good first issue, but want to come back and maybe work on an issue every week. We added that to the document with a definition and all that. And in that change, I even hopefully made the voting process for nominating committers, junior committers, and maintainers more clear in that document. Yeah, that's what I just wanted to mention here in the call. And with that, it's the full hour. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for all the discussions. I think we're making great progress on Hiero, and see you all next week. Oh, and next week we have Hart Montgomery from LFDT here, who will give an overview about the future of LFDT and the projects in it. And with that, see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.